As you've already figured out, this unit deals quite differently with the notion of assessment than the previous units have. And this one focuses on evaluating a program rather than an individual. There are a lot of reasons for undertaking evaluations of arts programs. Um, Sometimes there are curriculum issues. Are there things missing? Are there problems? Like, is there no string program, but a healthy band program? Is there the absence of technology? Sometimes it's a question of facilities. The music teachers are having problems with the current facilities. How do we convince the administration that these facilities are inadequate? Could be a resource issue. There's aren't enough resources, including maybe materials as well as faculty. And in the cases where I've generally been a participant, it's often just part of a review cycle that some school systems have external reviewers come in every few years, you typically maybe every 7 or 10 years, to kind of give them feedback about their programs. So the first thing you need to do is kind of develop a plan. And similar to evaluating arts partnerships, the notion that you need to kind of understand what the school system wants. So usually this would start with a conversation, sometimes with the superintendent, sometimes maybe with the supervisor of arts. Typically, what one wants to do is kind of two components. One looks at what are the inputs, the curriculum, the funding, the faculty, and the facilities, and then what are the outcomes? And, we usually look at things like student achievement, but often also as well as stakeholders' perceptions. And stakeholders here might be community members, or they might be the administration, or the Board of Education. How do we know what should be? How do we determine what are reasonable resources, faculties, facilities for a school district? One, I think, indispensable guide is an MENC publication, which is titled Opportunity to Learn Standards. And it suggests the resources that are necessary in each of the arts areas. It provides professional level standards for curriculum, for staffing, for materials and equipment, for facilities, and for any additional resources. And it does it by grade level. So it's grouped by pre-kindergarten, elementary, middle, and high school. Another useful source that's more focused on facilities is the MENC publication called Music Facilities. This is what the opportunity to learn standards for arts education looks like. And again, it's important to underscore that it does all of the arts. And this is what the Music Facilities book looks like. Both are available from MENC. Here's a page from the, actually I've copied several pages from the Opportunities to Learn standards to give you an idea. So you can see, very specific kinds of things are included. Like number 6, general music is required of all students through grade 8. Or number 8, at least one year-long elective course in music, other than band, orchestra, and chorus, is offered in grade 9. At least one course with no prerequisite is available. It gives you relatively specific notions about how long period should be and what the curriculum should look like at a minimum. Here it continues with staffing. All the music educators are musician teachers who are certified to teach. And you can read through some of these others. It gives you relatively clear guidelines. And, just for any of you who are in a school setting, having a copy of this is really useful when you have a conversation with an administrator who has control over finances about, this is what we should be doing. This is what the profession says we should be doing. When I come in and do a review in a school system, of course, it's, quote, then the outside expert who's coming in and saying, hey, you guys aren't as strong in this area as you should be. This talks about equipment. Notice number 7, a library of small ensemble music is provided that contains at least 75 titles of various ensembles. Chamber music. Notice number 10, 15 half and 15.5 and 16-inch violas, 3/4 size and full-size cellos. Relatively specific. So that I find indispensable in terms of evaluating the inputs. But what kinds of outputs should we look? We obviously have the national standards, so there should be instructional and some kind of response in each of those areas. Part of this, I think, has to do with understanding the stakeholders' agendas. So what is the stakeholders concerned about? What is the administration concerned about? What is the community concerned about? Here are some possible outcomes to look at. School assemblies, school performances, the number of students in Allstate. Often I talk with stakeholders. These could include students and administrators, music faculty members, and parents in the community. So students' perceptions are important. Scores on tests might be another criterion that one might use, and somehow to validate the curriculum. This is a form I've used. Notice it's for K through 4 curriculum assessment, and it's something that would be directed to teachers and simply asking them, well, what percentage of your kids do you think can do the following? And it gives relatively specific examples. This is again based on MENC kinds of publications. Here's a survey that I used in a school district in Westchester, where I was asking, as actually you can see it's the Edgemont Junior and Senior High School. And what I was asking is the students, not how well they performed or how well they could sing, but how much instruction or activities they perceived they got. So which of the following did you do when you were in junior or senior high? And did you do a lot of singing? Did you do a lot of listening and describing music, etc.? Another part of that same questionnaire, because Westchester school districts and Westchester community has parents use a lot of outside resources. So we were concerned about, well, there were so many outside resources available to these students. Did they participate, and how many years had they participated? That raises the question of what does the school music program need to do if there's so many outside arts activities available to the students. And these were very rich music programs. This is hard to read. The instructions in the gray area talk about ranking each or rating each one of these as being exemplary to being kind of non-existent on a 5-point scale. So this probably would be filled out by a teacher, and you'd rate each statement on, is it, are you exemplary? Do you do this really well? Or does your school district not do this well at all? So you again can see that, is the curriculum based on the standards for arts education? Do you do that well? Does your district do that well? Here's some additional pages from this. Is there a conversation about culture somewhere in your curriculum? Do you ever have guest artists in master classes? Is there a sequence? Some additional items. Gives you a feel for, kind of what are the things that you should consider in looking at a school district's program. These are continuing from the same form. I gave this to you as an example of some other data. This or some other data that you might collect. This form is for the evaluation of a college music teacher education program. So the scenario with this form was that here we're sending you this form for one of our graduates who has been teaching in your district. And we're asking you as the, let's say, supervisor of this person, it could be the principal or it could be the director of fine arts, would you please rate this teacher, one of our graduates, on how well they fall in each one of these different criteria? So that might be another way that you could look at a program evaluation. This is an evaluation of a college program, but you can imagine that you might be able to do the same thing for a school system also. In terms of your graduates, when they go on to college, do they participate? Or maybe after they're adults in the community. This next series of slides show you a report that I did, presented to the Board of Education in Pleasantville, which is a town in Westchester, New York. And it just gives you a sense or feel for the kinds of activities that I did and the kinds of data I reported and how I summarized it for the Board of Education. So one of the interesting things about this report is that I had done an evaluation of their school music program in 1996. So one of the neat things is I was coming back, this is 8 years later, and kind of looking at were there any changes that were based on the recommendations that I had done in 96. So here's what was a quick summary. Since 96, they had added 2 full-time music positions. They had established a string program. They had improved some of their facilities. They had added technology to the elementary school. And they had a more diverse musical repertoire. So this is a very quick overview. Here I'm acknowledging the Brian Zwar, who received his doctorate from us, was the supervisor of music there. The rest of those people immediately in the next bullet were the current music faculty in 2004. The next group are the administrators, the superintendent, the assistant superintendent, and principals. And then I also talked to parents and students in Pleasantville. So here are the sources of information: the music teachers, the students, the principals, the parents, and documents. In other words, there's some written curriculum, schedules, just how long classes meet. That kind of information, of course, is typically written down. I had interviews with teachers. I gave questionnaires to kids. I observed music classes, and I attended some of their concerts, and I reviewed their printed materials. So, in general, this is just descriptive information. This is what the supervisor of music or director of fine arts does. I think Zwar is only for music, actually. And as it says at the bottom, he's also leaving. And I'm not sure how they replaced him. And then this were findings regarding the curriculum. It's pretty sequential. It parallels the state and national standards and is described in written documents called curriculum guides. Most of the students receive the recommended amount of time of instruction, with the exception of students at the elementary school who receive only 45 minutes a week rather than the 90 minutes that is recommended by MANC in that document, Opportunity to Learn standards. Choral music instruction is integrated with other subject areas such as class plays. You can see here instrumental instruction begins in 3rd grade. They have ensemble experiences and solo opportunities, and a large number of students participate in the music program in this district. Again, similar kind of strength in the choral area. A weakness, though, is that the curriculum in the high school is limited to performance activities, so they do not have classes for students who are not participating in the performing groups. Again, that's something that MENC says we should be doing. The 6 music educators in this relatively small district are all certified. I think they probably all have master's degrees. A couple were working on their doctorates. They are spread a little thin, like they wind up teaching instrumental and general music, or sometimes they're in more than one building, although the middle school and high school are very close together. They're just walking across a parking lot. Their staffing does exceed the student-faculty ratio that's recommended by MENC. Sometimes, as many music teachers do, they make time in their schedule, including lunch periods. And the community expects a lot of activity from the music staff because they've always had strong programs. There is a budget, for purchasing equipment. It's shrunk a little. There is some external funding. The elementary school, the Bedford Row School, is reasonably equipped with music technology. That was not the case when I visited there previously. The Bedford Road School is a new school. They had replaced an old building, so that is much better shape than it was. The Pleasantville High School has some new facilities. The middle school is a problem in terms of enough rehearsal spaces for all these ensembles they have. They have a large number of students. Again, I think that's really important. They have a large number of students who participate in the music program, particularly in the ensembles in the high schools. The quality of the groups, I've went to their concerts, is quite good. They have a huge annual theater production that is kind of a tradition at the school. Was started by a previous music faculty member, and it's really exceptional. A lot of students in this district are in Allstate. And in some of the surveys I did, clearly the students enjoy their classes and they learn a lot. From the parents, they're strong supporters of the music program. They think music's important in their community. And the administrators all feel pretty good about the music program in the school district. Parents would like more opportunities for students in smaller ensembles, additional instruction for high school students with special music and talent. And that's interesting how much specialized instruction can one provide, and maybe some more music theory instruction. I think that was difficult to squeeze into the faculty's schedule. So ultimately, kind of summary for the district: has a strong qualified staff. They work hard. They have, a pretty good variety of specializations. The challenge maybe is that they're, spread a little thin because they teach both general music and instrumental music. The program is generally well-rounded. There are two areas that are neglected: high school theory, and middle school doesn't have anything in technology. And that, you think that would be a good period, an important time for students at the middle school and high school to have more technology expertise. They probably have a lot at home. It's not organized in schools. Their budget's okay, not great. The budget needs to keep pace with the program. And I think facilities-wise, the middle school is the biggest problem. They need two acoustically isolated rehearsal spaces. They're really, they're bumping into each other. They're playing in two different rooms separated by a partition that's a temporary partition, and the sound just bleeds through. A lot of things going on in this district are very positive in terms of the music program. And they probably knew that and probably weren't very intimidated by the notion of having a review. They just want, kind of recommendations. What do we need to work on next? Renato Valentino was the music faculty member who developed this really emphasis in musical theater, and so that those strong annual productions, musical theater productions, are really based on the tradition that he developed. He was a TC faculty member, a TC graduate in the 1970s, doctoral graduate. So, things are pretty good in this district. Things are not so bad. Few minor tweaks. That's what's necessary.